What is an equation? That is the question that we'll be answering in this first video. An equation, by definition, is a conditional statement expressing the equality between two math expressions. Pause the video if you need to write this definition down. You might be asking yourself, what is a conditional statement? So let's give a definition for that. A conditional statement is a logic statement which may be true or may be false depending on the given conditions. Right? So it may be true or false. You cannot determine whether it's true or false initially. Conditions have to be specified before you can know whether it's true or false. So here's an example of an equation. We have 2x plus 3 equals 5. We know it's an equation because there's an equal sign in there. That's the symbol that denotes equality. And we have an x in this equation, which is very typical, which is known as a variable. And just to remind you of what a variable is, it is a placeholder for an unknown number. So it's representing some number. We don't know what that number is yet, but it's holding the place of that number. What we do know is that whatever that number is, we want to multiply it by 2 and add 3, and we would like for that result to equal 5. So we know the things that we want to happen with that number, but we don't know the initial starting number yet. And this is what a variable is used for. It's used to hold the place of a number that we don't know, where we know the math that wants to be done. We just don't know what number we want to start with. All right, so 2x plus 3 equals 5 is an equation. Is this equation true or false? Well, that depends. What value, what number does x hold the place of? We need to decide that first, and then we can determine whether it's true or false. Right? So because it depends on the value that we want for x, that's why this is a conditional statement. It may be true or it may be false, depending on the initial condition of whatever we decide x should hold the place of. Whenever we talk about whenever we ask what number does x hold the place of, usually we say it more simply as what does x equal, right? But that's asking what number is x holding the place of. Right? If x is equal to 1, then let's see what happens with the equation. We start with 2x plus 3 equals 5. We replace the x with the number 1 since that's what x was holding the place of. And then we simplify the left-hand side using the order of operation. We multiply first, so 2 times 1 gives me 2. And then we add the results together, 2 plus 3, which gives me 5. And so we end up with the statement that 5 is equal to 5, which is a true statement. So under the condition that x is equal to 1, this equation is true. Right? So if x is equal to 1, then under that condition, 2x plus 3 equals 5 is a true equation. Right? But what if we change that initial condition? What if we instead decide that we would like x to equal 2? Under that condition, we're going to find that the resulting statement is false. So we start with the equation 2x plus 3 equals 5. We replace the x with the number 2. We follow the order of operation. We multiply first, then we add, and we end up getting 7 equals 5, which is clearly false. 7 does not equal 5. So under the condition that x is equal to 2, 2x plus 3 equals 5 is false. Right? So the question becomes, when is this equation going to be true and when is it going to be false? We'd like to determine that for any particular value of x. Right? So out of any possible value that we could choose for x, when is it going to be true? When is it going to be false? And so far, what we have found is that it is true when x is equal to 1, but it is false when x is equal to 2. But what about when x is equal to 3? Well, if you go back and check the same way we checked the previous two, you'll find that for the case where x is equal to 3, the equation will be false. When x is equal to 4, the equation will be false. When x is equal to 5, the equation will be false. And you'll find that actually it's going to be false in every other circumstance except when x is equal to 1. So whether you're checking negative numbers or fractions or decimals, it's always false except under the condition when x is equal to 1. That's the only time it's true. And so that's a special circumstance. So it's really kind of a special situation when you find a value of x that makes the equation true. So we give those values of x a special name. We call these values of x solutions to this equation. Right, so this is another definition that you need to know. A solution to a conditional statement is any condition that results in a true statement. So In other words, a solution makes things true. So what we would say in this case is that x equals 1 is a solution to the equation 2x plus 3 equals 5.